Welcome back to Salted Fish Tales. May you live a happy, carefree salted fish life to the end. I've transmigrated into the most cliché, heart-wrenching, dog-blood xianxia novel imaginable, playing the ridiculously devoted female lead. She loves her master more than herself, suffers a soul-crushing torment, and ultimately jumps off the Zhuxian platform for him, turning into dust and ashes, her soul scattered to the winds. What a tragedy! The moment my consciousness returned, I found myself standing on the windy precipice of the Zhuxian platform. My master, Yuzhen, in white robes as pure as snow and a face as cold as ice, held a gleaming sword, ready to gift me a one-way ticket to the underworld to sever our ties. Before he could even swing his sword, I reacted with lightning speed, abandoning all semblance of ladylike grace. Shamelessly, I clung tightly to the cold stone edge of the platform, determined to hold on for dear life. To live is to cling, whoever lets go is a fool. My master's face turned purple with rage, and he gathered his energy, intent on crushing my hands to end the matter. The entire immortal world watched with bated breath, awaiting the moment I transformed into a tragic streak of light. But life is not always as one expects. Seizing the opportunity, I flipped my hand over and executed a perfect sweeping leg aimed directly at his lower body, pulling down his white silk pants. A moment of eerie silence descended. The 3,000 worlds seemed to freeze. The Zhuxian platform, originally meant to sever disciples' romantic ties, had become my master's heartbreak platform. Fellow cultivators, if you find this plot promising, please be generous with a like. Add Little Bean Sprout to your favorites, and don't forget to hit the notification bell to catch the latest chapters. I've transmigrated into a book. Not as some brainless cannon fodder female supporting character, nor as a scheming green tea junior sister who's always stirring up trouble, but as the #1 heart-wrenching female lead in the cultivation world. The kind who jumps off the Zhuxian platform for her master, dies, and is resurrected, only to be tormented for 400 chapters until even the author is being cursed to death. When I woke up, there was no jade bed, no nourishing soup, but 2 stone-faced disciples, dragging me roughly across the cold stone floor. The wind whistled in my ears. My body ached as if it were being crushed, my meridians were broken, my face was haggard, and I couldn't find a single intact spot on my body. I opened my mouth with difficulty, my voice so hoarse that it startled even me. "Where are we going?" The system suddenly chimed in, its voice as excited as if it were about to lead me to an Oscar acceptance. "Host, rest assured, we're on our way to the Zhuxian platform for a group suicide." Ha. I gritted my teeth. System, only by jumping off the Zhuxian platform will the ancient demonic energy sleeping in your body awaken. You will officially embody the tragic female lead, growing stronger with pain, leveling up with every torment. I scoffed. As a professional transmigrator who has survived 300 dogblood novels, I understand this survival rule all too well. When a crucial plot point arrives, there's always a mission. What's the mission this time? As soon as I spoke, a virtual screen appeared before my eyes, making me want to curse the author directly. Zhuxian platform plot. Mission objective *4 Venerable Master Yuzhen to complete one of the following choices to activate the next stage of the story. Inflict 10 points of regret on the target. Inflict 10 points of infatuation on the target. Inflict 10 points of anger on the target. Inflict 10 points of fear on the target. Hidden mission. Locked. Seeing this, I froze. Wait, what the hell is this? The system's voice rang out, and for the first time, I heard a hint of guilt. This is something you don't need to worry about. Because of its high difficulty, young Master Fu secretly hid it for you. It's for your own good. I frowned. Something's not right here. The feeling of being led by the nose made the competitive spirit in me boil over. Open it. The system immediately protested vehemently, as if I were about to commit a heinous crime. Unlocking a hidden option will cost accumulation points. Oh, are you daring to threaten me? I laughed, utterly carefree. This lady has accumulation points piled up like mountains. I can spend them as I please. I've survived over a dozen worlds. What are a few measly points? The system was silent for 3 seconds, as if lamenting my dark future. Then, with a click, the interface opened. Unlock requirement: 50 points of embarrassment. The system and I fell silent simultaneously. The atmosphere suddenly became subtle. 50 points of embarrassment. This kind of mission sounded humiliating, but also incredibly exciting. I immediately selected it without hesitation. The system choked. Host, are you sure? Normal people would avoid it like the plague. I'm not normal. The moment I clicked confirm, an invisible force grabbed me by the scruff of my neck like a chicken and slammed me straight into the ground. Bam! My bones rattled like temple bells, every vertebra seemingly crying out in agony. Could you guys be a little gentler with me? I gritted my teeth and used the ground to push myself up. After the earth-shattering landing, I looked up and immediately saw a white-robed figure standing at the head of the group. White robes fluttered, the hem of the garment like early snow, sword-like brows, cold eyes, a pure and aloof demeanor like an immortal. But the more I looked at him, the more I felt that he was born to be bullied by me. You rebellious disciple. Yuzhen flicked his sleeves, his voice cold, but slightly trembling. You dare to look at your teacher with those filthy eyes, disregarding all rules. I was startled. Was my gaze that obvious? The system calmly informed me. Your saliva is about to drip on the ground. I quickly wiped my mouth with my sleeve, utterly sincere. Sorry, I was being unseemly. Just as I was about to get serious again, the corner of my eye inadvertently glanced at the mission screen. Embarrassment points, 10%. I was stunned. Huh? I only looked at him with a slightly lustful gaze, and the progress is already at 10%? The system replied indifferently. Congratulations, host. You have completed the first step on the road to tarnishing your teacher's reputation. I narrowed my eyes, my heart blossoming. In other words, as long as I demanded a fight, a hug, a kiss, and did all sorts of crazy things, he would become more embarrassed, and I would get more points. The system was silent. You figured it out too quickly. At that moment, an elder stepped forward, holding a scroll in his hand, and began to read out my crimes in a voice full of resentment, as if I were the final boss of the story. Born a demonic woman, with an evil nature, bullying fellow disciples, humiliating virtuous people, abusing demonic energy, bewitching good intentions, disrespecting teachers, harboring worldly delusions. After listening, I turned to the system and asked, do these crimes get extra embarrassment points? The system rubbed its forehead. Host, the mission is to make others feel embarrassed, not to make the entire cultivation world feel humiliated on your behalf. Because of me, Yuzhen stood in front, his white robes fluttering, his expression as if he had cultivated for 10,000 years to maintain his inner peace. But if he looked at me for 3 more seconds, his Tao heart would spontaneously combust. Rebellious disciple, do you know your mistakes? His voice was stern, but the corners of his eyes were slightly trembling. I immediately nodded like a pecking chicken. Right. Whatever you say is right. It's all my fault, all my fault. If you want to blame someone, blame me for being too adorable, making it easy for people to be moved. The atmosphere immediately froze. Yuzhen and the elders, even the mist on the Zhuxian mountain, stopped in shock. Perhaps my attitude was a little too much. Yuzhen's ears turned red with anger. He didn't say anything else, but directly used his magic power to throw me onto the Zhuxian platform. Spiritual power tightened the space. The cold wind blew wildly. The scene was tragic and magnificent. Yuzhen stood in front, his hand on the hilt of his sword, his face full of sorrow. Years ago, I saw that your foundation was pure and kind, your heart set on the Tao, so I accepted you as a disciple. I never expected that today you would make it so that I could not see through you. I frowned. He continued. If I had known. I immediately raised my hand to interrupt, offering my most sincere advice. Yuzhen, what you did to me before was as fast as lightning, all in one go, but now you're opening your mouth to preach. Why are you suddenly being so long-winded? If you want to build up an image of a righteous gentleman, don't try too hard. It's ugly. As soon as I spoke, the entire scene instantly petrified. The wind stopped blowing, and the immortal cranes flying in the sky immediately changed direction. Everyone's eyes went from shock to astonishment and then suddenly took a deep breath. On the mission screen, the words were dancing frantically. Target shame points, 10%, 25%, 40%, 50%. With explosion effects, explosion. I rested my chin in my hand, my heart full of pleasure. Those with thin skin are indeed rare treasures in the cultivation world. A little teasing and they turn red from their ears to their necks. The system trembled. Host, you're going too far. I replied indifferently. Shut up. My will to live for enjoyment is burning fiercely. Just then, Yuzhen finally came back to life from his frozen state, his face as red as a tomato, and he raised his hand and swung the spiritual whip down. You rebellious disciple, spouting nonsense without restraint. Today I, your teacher, must. As Yuzhen swung the spiritual whip, I counted each lash like counting sheep. The 37th lash is a little weak. Can you put more force into my waist? The 68th lash is a little to the left. Are you not afraid that I'll dislocate my shoulder? As the 99th lash fell, I curled my lips. Master, your hand is trembling. Is it because you're pained or because you're embarrassed? The entire Zhuxian mountain fell into a state of chaos, panic, and a desire to faint. On the mission screen, the embarrassment points jumped from 50% to 80%. But then it stopped. I raised my eyebrows, thinking that Yuzhen must be getting used to it. Yuzhen released the spiritual whip, his white robes fluttering, his face as if he were about to deliver heavenly punishment. Since you are so stubbornly unrepentant, then don't blame me for being ruthless. He flung his sleeves, and the Zhuxian Grand Formation was activated. Bam! White light burst out, locking down the space. The spiritual power in me was sucked out like a flood being released, and it felt like 1,000 blades were slicing through my meridians. The pain was so intense that I wanted to bite my tongue off. I let out a miserable scream that echoed through the heavens and the earth. My body swayed and I fell to my knees at the edge of the platform. If I leaned over just a bit more, I would fall into the abyss of death. Yuzhen stepped forward, his eyes finally revealing a hint of trembling. His voice was hoarse, suppressed like someone who was torturing himself rather than torturing me. Xingxian, if there is a next life, I hope that you and I will never meet again. I looked up at him from below, the white light reflecting in my eyes, and my lips slowly curved into a smile that was beautiful and bewitching. Wouldn't it be too much of a pity not to meet again? Yuzhen shuddered and immediately closed his eyes. Perhaps he feared that if he looked at me for even a moment longer, his Dao heart would shatter into ashes. He placed one hand on my shoulder, using his strength to push me off the edge of the platform, but I still didn't fall. I arched my body, hanging in midair with my hand, in a position that would blind the eyes of the viewers, like performing a circus act in the middle of the cultivation gathering. The system screamed. Host, what kind of ugly tricks are you doing? I flipped from the edge of the platform, my body bending into a curve that defied physics, and I gently landed right next to his feet. Popping my head out from below him, I looked up, smiling so seductively that even gods and Buddhas would want to cover their eyes. The flexibility of my body. I said slowly, my voice low, the corners of my eyes full of teasing. You know best, don't you? Yuzhen took a long breath and then held it. The system thoughtfully reminded me. The target's embarrassment level reaches 90%. I nodded with satisfaction. Others might be the past, but I alone am a criminal record, a stain on his life, a taboo in his Dao heart. Yuzhen trembled, his eyes revealing 3 clear states, wanting to scold, wanting to kill, wanting to bury himself in the ground. But he still tried to maintain the demeanor of an immortal, not uttering a single curse word. Until he took action. Yuzhen struck out with his palm, his spiritual power surging, and I tumbled away like an eel that had become a spirit. Immediately afterward, my eyes flashed, my movements faster than my consciousness, my will faster than my morals. I stretched out my hand straight towards the important area under his clothes. Soar. The world was completely silent. The immortal cranes flying in the sky immediately turned their heads in the other direction, and even the clouds in the sky automatically split to the sides, leaving a gap for someone's Dao heart to scream. I looked at his long, snow-white legs flailing in the air, cool and useless at the same time, and burst out laughing. Ha ha ha. My laughter echoed through the 3 realms, destroying 3,000 Dao hearts, causing all the elders within 10 miles to want to abandon their sex and start cultivating again from scratch. I pointed at the face of the degraded venerable master. Yujin, listen carefully. There is a kind of suffering that is 100 times more terrifying than death. I raised my head, my hair fluttering, my laughter like a demon rising from hell. That is, to die of embarrassment. Ho ho hee hee. The system roared wildly. The target's embarrassment level reaches 100%, 150%, 200%. Breaking the limit. The target has lost control of emotions. Asterisk asterisk. Yujin stood in the center of the grand formation, his white robes fluttering, his long hair disheveled, his eyes bloodshot, his spiritual power twisted into a dragon, sweeping away the clouds in the sky, shaking the entire heavenly realm. He was no longer a pure and aloof immortal venerable, but a bomb about to explode with embarrassment and anger. The system issued a warning, its voice trembling like weak Wi-Fi. Ding! The target is about to go berserk. It is recommended that the host leave this plot immediately, lest you be implicated as the first victim to die from ridiculousness. I turned my head to look back. Oh dear, he really has gone crazy. I was extremely righteous. All right, I understand. And then I was extremely happy. Goodbye. With a whoosh, I jumped off the Jusan platform, my movements so beautiful that if there were aesthetic points, I would definitely get full marks. I died, but not completely. My consciousness floated, flying through the stream of time. When I opened my eyes, I was lying on a tattered mat, next to a skinny beggar boy with a dirty face. The system spoke in an icy voice. Congratulations, host, you have been reborn as a fallen young lady, with a tragic identity, abandoned by her family, the 27th canon fodder character in the new plot. I was silent for a few seconds before asking, where's young Master Fu? I remember my previous system was young Master Fu. The system replied without a trace of emotion. I am young Master Fu II. I was stunned. The system coldly added. Young Master Fu III said, you are too perverted, I'm scared. I understand. This system is cooler than the old one and seems to be colder. System young Master Fu II was very calm, like the kind of character who would maintain a heart rate of 60 in any emergency. He gently turned the page of the new interface, his voice even as if he were reading an official document. Next world plot, Chastisement Demon Palace. Mission target, Demon Lord Beiyi Cho. On the screen appeared a mission table divided into neat columns. Complete any one of the following conditions. Asterisk obtain 10 points of regret from the target. Asterisk obtain 10 points of infatuation from the target. Asterisk obtain 10 points of anger from the target. Asterisk obtain 10 points of fear from the target. Asterisk obtain 10 million points of embarrassment from the target. I was washing my face with cold water to sober up, but at the last line, my hand froze in midair, the water droplets running from my chin to my neck, and a tense silence enveloped the room. I tilted my head, narrowing my eyes with suspicion. What did young Master Fu III say to you? Young Master Fu II replied in a voice without a single ripple, sounding like a recording of traffic laws. Host, you are thinking too much. Apart from handing over work, I and young Master Fu III usually do not discuss any of the host's personal issues. I'd believe you if I was a goldfish wearing a straw hat. I slowly put the basin of water aside, my eyes as deep as an abyss. Then let me ask, the conditions for infatuation, anger, regret, and fear all require only 10 points, while embarrassment requires 10 million. I slapped the table. It is obvious that someone wrote a note before handing over. It is obvious that someone warned you. Young Master Fu II replied calmly. There was no warning, only a note in the margin. What note? Young Master Fu II opened the file, reading it without any expression. Note, for this host, the embarrassment index is an endless source of energy and cannot be extinguished. If you accidentally assign an embarrassment mission lower than 10 million, the host will break the plot. Humph, that is too much. Did I leave such an embarrassing impression? I washed the beggar's face, a basic humanitarian act, and inadvertently looked up at the river. The The scenery was flowing normally, but I was frozen. Why does this beggar's face resemble mine so much? His face is exactly like a sketch of mine, only missing that arrogant demeanor. Wait a minute. I turned to the system, my doubts clear. I have already jumped off the Jusian platform, so why is the ancient demonic energy in my body still so silent? Young Master Fu II still maintained the attitude of reading a washing machine user manual, explaining slowly. Through his words, all the pieces suddenly came together. The original female lead's name was Xing Xian, born with ancient demonic energy. Her appearance changed the color of the sky and the earth, and the village council ran away in a panic. Yuzhen had taken her as a disciple because he saw her pure and kind foundation, her heart set on the Tao, but he was torn between love and hate, wanting to embrace her and push her away. When Xing Xian confessed her feelings, Yuzhen coldly pushed her away. She left heartbroken, wandering everywhere, and then saved a young man. The young man was actually Demon Lord Bai Yichou in disguise. Bai Yichou was initially only curious, then from curiosity became fond, from fond became pity, from pity became an obsession. He could not bear to be rejected, so he found a female cultivator who looked 8 parts like Xing Xian, imprisoned her in the chastisement demon palace, tortured her, and ruined her cultivation, but made her drink elixirs to protect her life, keeping her body for that morbid purpose. The female cultivator was humiliated and finally escaped, and that very body is now hugging her face. Here is mine. After hearing this, my heart skipped a beat. Well, it's really creating karma. The resentment in this body is so heavy that if you were to weigh it, the scale would probably be off by 100 pounds. The ancient demonic energy cannot be awakened on its own. If there is no such thing as complete revenge, that is, helping the girl redeem her honor, sever the old shackles, and judge the perpetrator. I took a deep breath, bringing with it the kind of breath that a female lead who is willing to play has come out. It's really creating karma. I whispered half-jokingly. The mission screen flashed in my eyes, the options lying there as clear as a menu. I skimmed through each item, frowning in a I-know-how-to-play kind of way, and then decisively. Okay, I understand. Here's the interpreted and lightly expanded translation of the provided text into American English. I pressed the button, making my selection. And just like that, the revenge plan was set in motion. I wouldn't even have to bother trekking back to the Purgatory Demon Palace. North Nightshade was proactively shipping me there, freight charges completely waived. A gust of dark wind, as cold as humanity's collective soul, swept over me. My head swam, the horizon spun, the earth whirled, and I felt myself rotating a full 1,800 degrees. When I opened my eyes, I found myself in a completely unfamiliar place. In front of me, a man approached, his long black robe pooling around his bare feet, his dark hair flowing freely. Not a speck of dust clung to him. Every step radiated an aura of, I'm a demon lord, I'm beautiful, I'm crazy, and I can't be cured. A vibrant vermilion mark blazed between his eyebrows, almost disturbingly captivating. He lowered himself, squatting right in front of me, close enough that I could see the slight tremble of his long eyelashes. North Nightshade's face was an impassive mask, utterly devoid of emotion, but I knew very well that the air around him crackled with suppressed fury. His icy fingers, as cold as a winter storm, touched my cheek, and I shuddered at the contact. TSK. He tilted his head, his deep voice laced with seduction, but if you listened closely, you could detect a hint of insidious malice lurking beneath. My face must have been a mess, a casualty of the recent fight. And you dare call me Yixing? Me, the Demon Lord North Nightshade? How do you think I should punish you? I was speechless, still reeling from the level of intimacy in his address, like we were an old married couple with a brood of noisy children. His hand tightened on my chin, lifting my face to meet his insane smile. North Nightshade leaned closer, his eyes burning. Have you forgotten the smile reserved only for me so soon after our parting? I immediately grasped the situation. He was in character, committed to the role so deeply that even his own soul couldn't distinguish pretense from reality. Right now, I was just a cultivation-less nobody, no match for him in strength, and escape was equally impossible. But I'm a female lead who's been through 999 lifetimes. I know when to be assertive and when to yield. So, I forced a smile. Hee hee. I thought my smile was pretty perfect, a well-calibrated blend of youthful innocence and demonic allure. It definitely met the standards. Until North Nightshade's expression changed drastically. Smack, a resounding slap. The ground trembled. I told you. He roared, his eyes bloodshot. Xingxian only shows 8 teeth when she smiles. How dare you reveal 9? I cradled my swelling cheek. Damn it. This crazy bastard was a complete lunatic. In my head, I asked, rich second generation, what would happen if I forced the awakening of my ancient demonic energy right now? Rich second generation replied mechanically, like reading from an administrative ledger, all accumulated points will be deducted. Forget it. Let's just destroy the world then. All I did was mispronounce one word, and I got sentenced to 5 days of no food. It sounds funny, but by the 4th day, the humor had turned into tragedy. Starvation made my head spin, and my vision blurred as if I were watching a slow-motion movie. I started babbling like a lost pilgrim. Rich second generation, I'm so hungry. Sing me a song. Rich second generation remained stoic. Negative. I was bitter. I remembered my previous life in the third world. There was a system that could sing well, sing loudly, sing so much that I forgot my hunger. I narrowed my eyes. Oh, that system sang for me for free. Rich second generation's tone was like a formal reprimand. Then he violated the regulations. I will report it to my superiors. I sighed, the weary sigh of someone resigned to their punishment. By the 5th day of starvation, I was deliriously excited. Hunger makes you weak, and weakness makes you mischievous. And at that moment, I realized something very important. The demon lord North Nightshade was crazy enough, perverted enough, and perfectly suited to be a dessert for my own twisted pleasures. I smiled, my eyes gleaming as if I'd discovered a treasure. Excellent. I have a worthy opponent. On the 6th day, I chose the path of abandoning this world. In other words, I tried to commit suicide. The little demon who brought my meals saw the scene and was so terrified that he crawled out on his knees, shouting a single sentence that echoed through the 9 layers of heaven. Your Excellency, something has happened. I lay on the bed, waiting for death. My trembling hand opened the system panel, using my accumulated points to exchange for a life-extending elixir. The goal was to stall for time, waiting for North Nightshade to arrive. And, just as I predicted, boom, a whirlwind of demonic energy swept through the entire palace. North Nightshade appeared, his eyes bloodshot, his murderous aura palpable, but his hands trembled as if he feared I would vanish before his eyes. Without my permission, how dare you seek death? He roared, the sound shaking the entire purgatory demon palace. Then he pulled me into a tight embrace, as if holding his entire life. I smiled inwardly. Rich second generation, my gamble paid off. North Nightshade's heart has a place for this female cultivator. Rich second generation maintained its bureaucratic style. Congratulations. You're so perfunctory. Where's the emotion? Where's the applause? While I and the system argued about service quality, North Nightshade had ordered all his subordinates to withdraw. The space was instantly left with only him and me, along with an atmosphere thick with danger. He placed his hand on my wrist. A stream of icy, dark spiritual energy slowly flowed into my meridians. At that moment, the ancient demonic energy in my body surged like a fish reunited with water, like seeing a high-end buffet, absorbing as much as it could. I was so excited that my toes tingled. That's it. Yes. Hurry, drain him dry. But I couldn't absorb it. My demonic energy demanded to feast like a ravenous beast, but it was like encountering an unbreakable barrier. North Nightshade stopped, his narrow eyes revealing a rare hint of surprise. What's going on? I wanted to say that maybe I wasn't strong enough to devour him, but fearing I'd lose face, I feigned consciousness and immediately made my move. I'm awake. My voice was weak, fragmented, as if he could extinguish me with a single breath. I tilted my head, looking at him with watery eyes. North Nightshade, just kill me. North Nightshade squeezed my throat, his voice deep, each word like an engraving on my bones. Your life belongs to me. I frowned slightly, suppressing a sigh like I was on my deathbed. Living like this was truly painful. I looked up at him, my eyes trembling slightly, my voice so sorrowful that even the wind seemed to hold its breath. You'll never understand my heart. At that moment, his grip faltered. North Nightshade, what are you babbling about? Now is the time. I suddenly sprang up like a carp transforming into a dragon, wrapping my arms around his neck and kissing him. The air froze. North Nightshade froze. The system sounded alarms. And I was sucking in spiritual energy, feeling high as a kite. A tear fell onto his lips, triggering a surge of ancient demonic energy. It felt like I was drinking a demon lord-flavored energy drink. I thought to myself, this is definitely high-end stuff. The spiritual energy is pure and sweet, but the aftertaste is a bit sour. Rich second generation immediately warned in a cold voice, "Host, I'm telling you, the characteristic of the ancient demonic energy isn't for you to use your mouth to suck a demon lord like this." I remained unfazed. The traditions of the Central Plains teach that if there's a direct and effective method, don't take the roundabout route. The ancient demonic energy in my body. Yes, suck. I kept sucking. North Nightshade was stunned for the first 2 seconds, then regained his senses. He pushed me away forcefully, his eyes bloodshot. You insolent. I lightly wiped the corner of my mouth, my voice calm as if welcoming the end of the world. Being able to express my feelings before death, I have no regrets. Then I closed my eyes slightly, hoping he would finish me off and complete the mission neatly. But North Nightshade just stood there staring at me, his eyes as if I had just slapped him right in his Taoist core. He turned and strode away at a speed, very unlike an invincible demon lord, and exactly like someone fleeing from their own emotions. I watched his receding figure disappear, then sighed in relief. Rich second generation, you see that? This guy's skin isn't as thick as a nomad's boots, but his perversion is just as extreme. Rich second generation, I see it. And I suggest you prepare yourself mentally. He will be back. I fell onto the bed, pulling the blanket over my face, chuckling softly. I'm waiting for him. I'm full, so I fell so happily. Beep beep. I startled and looked around. What are you doing? Rich second generation was expressionless, his system voice as even as a third-grade ethics lesson. Content unsuitable for children. Automatic system censorship. Immediately afterward, a task progress reminder message. Target's regret points reach 1%. At that moment, even though I was on the verge of death, I jumped up like water poured into a hot pan. What? 1%? I practically yelled into the system's mind. I just exhausted all my strength, sold my dignity, and put on a whole combo of sacrificial crying and kissing, and only got 1%? My inner world was spinning. I thought that this female cultivator must have had a very deep and profound image in North Nightshade's heart, but who knew? It was just a delusional overestimate of my power. Before I could even feel completely miserable, the system's voice rang out again. Ding! Task progress reminder. Target's regret points reach 0%. Eh? How could it decrease? Rich second generation replied calmly, as if he had just finished reading the application terms. Perhaps the demon lord felt he was not at fault after calming down. I am not the same person in the world, and Long is so moved that he has nothing to say. North Nightshade didn't come for 3 days, and I thought he had become enlightened or had gone into seclusion to think about life. On the 4th day, the stone door of the Purgatory Demon Palace made a loud bang sound that was full of resentment. He walked in, his black robe fluttering, each step like a storm wanting to tear apart space. His face was as cold as ice, and his aura of stranger should not approach. Approaching means death was overwhelming. Before I could pretend to be weak, he raised his hand and grabbed my neck, picking me straight up from the bed like lifting a thin cat. I have thought it through. He curled his lips into a smile, but there wasn't a trace of warmth in his eyes. Aishing, I was almost deceived by you. His fingers tightened, and the air around us froze. I understood that Plan A, which involved sentiment, tears, and kisses, had completely failed. It's okay. Smart people always have plans B, C, D. I managed to pry his hand off, my voice both weak and sarcastic. North Nightshade, you're truly pathetic. His expression changed instantly, as if I had just mentioned something most taboo. "Shut up," he roared, throwing me violently to the ground. I spun several times after I hit the ground, my internal organs turning over and my ears rang for a long time. When I regained consciousness, I burst out laughing. It wasn't a normal laugh, but the kind of laugh that was like going insane, the kind of laugh that made people dig up your ancestral graves. I crawled up, but not in a normal way. I wiggled my butt and moved forward on my knees and elbows, crawling and yelling, in a posture so indescribable that if there were an awards ceremony for the most outstanding image-destroying style, I would definitely win first place. My laughter echoed throughout the Purgatory Demon Palace. "North Nightshade, you are a pathetic person. Xingxian has been dead for 100 years, and you're still here, a prisoner of yourself, not avenging her, not exonerating her, not helping her find peace. Every night she appears in my dreams, crying and screaming, 'Are you not ashamed?'" The air exploded. North Nightshade was so angry that the demonic energy swirling around him was about to materialize. "You are worthy of mentioning her name?" Bang, he kicked me, and I flew out, rolling 3.5 times. I got up from the ground, my body aching all over, but my aura was as proud as if I were climbing onto the stage to receive an acting award. I looked directly into North Nightshade's eyes, bloodshot eyes with demonic energy swirling like raging waves. "How do you think Xingxian died?" I said, each word like a blade piercing his soul. North Nightshade froze. I took step after step, faltering though I was, still maintaining a smile full of sarcasm. That Duzhen boasted of being from a famous and orthodox sect, accepting Xingxian for the sake of the world and its people? Wrong. He targeted her rare millennium-old demon body, treating her as a living furnace so he could break through his realm. Boom! North Nightshade's spiritual energy erupted. He rushed forward and grabbed my face, his eyes so red they seemed about to crack. "What are you saying? How dare you fabricate this?" I didn't dodge, instead, I smiled coldly. "You still don't know, right? Xingxian had escaped. She had a chance to live, but she met you." I raised my hand and placed it directly on North Nightshade's chest, where his heart was beating wildly. "The time she spent with you was the happiest time of her life, but Duzhen found her. To protect you, she led the people of Penglai away on her own. Even when she died, she still remembered you. Even when she jumped off the immortal execution platform, she was still whispering your name. Each word I spoke was like a tolling funeral bell echoing in the space." The demonic energy around North Nightshade's body shook, and black streaks cracked like thunder tearing the sky. You're lying to me. How dare you use her name to deceive me?" He roared, but the trembling at the end of his voice betrayed everything. He was scared, he was shocked, he was in pain. I calmly delivered the final blow to his Taoist core. Xingxian jumped off the immortal execution platform not because she was despairing of the world, but because she knew that if she lived, you would kill everyone in Penglai for her sake, causing chaos in the world and slaughtering all living beings. She died to protect you. North Nightshade was stunned, his breath catching in the air, his eyes wide as if he had just heard a revelation. I moved closer, leaned in, and whispered the final sentence in his ear like sealing a curse of fate. "Xingxian loved you so much that she was willing to die 3 times just to protect you alone." Heavens above! I admired my own continent-spanning level of fabrication. Boom! A huge explosion rang in North Nightshade's head. Demonic energy erupted to its peak, the world shook, and countless cracks appeared in the Purgatory Demon Palace. "If you don't believe me, go investigate it yourself." I looked straight at him, each word hitting his forehead. Did Xingxian jump off the immortal execution platform of her own will? Did Duzhen go berserk? These things, if you had the heart to investigate, how could you not know? I lowered my voice, delivering the final stab. "North Nightshade, you are a coward, only knowing how to deceive yourself and live in your own fantasies." North Nightshade froze, and the hand that was strangling me suddenly fell. He staggered back a step, his face pale. Xingxian, so she had me in her heart. I rubbed my cheek, which had been squeezed until it was sore, and watched his staggering figure disappear behind the dark curtains of the main hall. The stone door slammed shut, and the Purgatory Demon Palace fell into silence. I nudged my brain. Rich second generation, Why so quiet? The system was silent for a beat, then replied, dry as a public document, I'm thinking of a slogan for our next event. I was curious. Have you thought of one? Yes, I have. Let's hear it. Book crossing stage. Knowing how to make it up is the key. Are you mocking me? Beep beep. Task reminder. Target's regret points reached 20%. I curled my lips. The white moonlight is indeed the white moonlight, especially a dead white moonlight. Every reminder is a small dagger. North Nightshade locked himself in the Xing Xian Palace, not stepping out for 3 days and 3 nights. In my head, the system bell rang every few hours. Ding, regret points plus 1%, currently at 25%. Ding, regret points plus 2%, currently at 27%. A heavy silence fell. Ding, regret points plus 3%, currently at 30%. I propped up my chin and sighed. Huh, good, Demon Lord, just keep grinding yourself up some more. The third night passed, and the progress report was stuck at 40%, like a stuck clock that wouldn't budge. I lay on the bed, guessing, listening to my own heartbeat, and feeling a surge of excitement inside. It was time for another round. But then the door was suddenly blasted open. North Nightshade appeared in the room like a black storm, murderous and raging, each step seeming to tear apart the heavens and the earth. He grabbed me, and he picked me right out of my bed, as though I were a broken doll. I must personally go to Penglai and see what's going on, he said, his voice as cold as ice and full of command. A spell was cast into the world in a flash of an eye. No longer there is me or him, only the final voice of his words echoed in the space. If you dare lie to me, I will make you wish you were dead. The defensive system of Penglai's fairyland is notoriously difficult to penetrate, but North Nightshade's spiritual power is as deep as the sea and as heavy as a mountain. He broke through all the invisible barriers, bringing me, half awake and half dreaming, and cramming me straight into the back hall of the Grand Elder, without anyone noticing. And of course, the Grand Elder was taking a bath. He was bowing his head, water splashing everywhere, and the scent of cinnamon tea bath medicine still lingered on his shoulders. When he glanced up and saw the figure suddenly appear, his whole body recoiled. Who are you? How dare you? The words were cut short by the stifling atmosphere. North Nightshade didn't even bother with formalities. He grabbed the man by the neck, lifting the old man like a roll of paper. The splashing water flew everywhere. Soap bubbles floated onto the stone floor, mixing with the strangled cries of the Grand Elder, creating a chaotic symphony. I'll ask you some questions. His voice was as cold as stone. If you answer obediently, I'll spare your life. The Grand Elder's face turned red, and his eyes bulged as if they were about to fall out. It was the first time in his life he had seen his own mouth tremble like this. Just as North Nightshade was about to open his mouth, I volunteered. Let me ask the first question. What exactly was the cause of death of Duzhen's senior student, Xingxian? North Nightshade threw the Grand Elder to the ground, and the man shook before stating, She ended her life by leaping from the immortal execution platform. Question 2. In the past 100 years, did Duzhen go into seclusion? The Grand Elder was dumbfounded. He subconsciously wanted to nod, but he saw North Nightshade's fierce expression and stopped himself. Not really. He entered a demonic cultivation state. Third question. Did his entry into a demonic cultivation state occur as a result of Xingxian? Upon hearing these words, the Grand Elder turned furious. If it weren't for the existence of that woman, then how could Duzhen fall into this situation? If it wasn't for Xingxian. At the immortal execution platform. Before the rest of the sentence could be spoken, I had already walked forwards to slap him across the face. Hey, what's with all the extra chatter? I asked you or what? North Nightshade stared at me, and I nervously smiled. This old man is just wasting our time. Last question. Was the relationship between Duzhen and Xingxian purely that of teacher and student? The Grand Elder widened his eyes as he glanced at me. After some time had passed, he looked away hatefully. Negative. All right, let's call it quits with the questions here. This can't continue. Okay, here's the translation and rewrite of the provided text with a touch of creative flair and clarification aimed at a U.S. English audience. He elaborated further. Bei Yishu's patience had finally snapped. Where's Dujin right now? The Grand Elder, locked away in the immemorial confinement wall. After calmly using my verbal skills to shatter the Grand Elder's Taoist core, I was rewarded with a steady stream of dings in my head. Ding, the target's regret level has increased to 65%. Excellent. Bai Yueguang truly is Bai Yueguang. Just tap into the right emotional frequency, and the Demon Lord practically confesses his love on his own. He headed to the immemorial confinement wall alone. Before leaving, he raised his hand and cast a spell, instantly enveloping me in dark light, as if to say that my belongings must return to the tribunal of demonic judgment and not wander around. But just then, fate threw a curveball. A streak of white light flashed across the sky, and a cultivator in pristine white robes, so breathtakingly handsome he could star in a spring water ad, used a single move to yank me to the ground. He looked at me intently, his eyes lighting up as if he had found the greatest treasure in the heavens. Little female cultivator. His voice was smoother than silk, his disarmingly warm smile almost comically misleading. Come with me, and I will take you away from this darkness, to a place where you can enjoy all the blessings imaginable. It sounded so refined, but the gist was like a human trafficker dressed as a celestial being to lure in unsuspecting marks. Before I could react, second-generation rich guy piped up in my mind. Host, you have triggered a main quest. I was startled. Wait. The side quest is still running. Second-generation rich guy's voice was as monotonous as a text-to-speech program. Both quests can proceed simultaneously. Are you turning me into the lead actress in two parallel universes? I was silent for what felt like an eternity, maybe half a second. Then he spoke, uttering a sentence that made me want to evaporate from this god-forsaken cultivation world. I believe in you. Simultaneously, while the white-robed cultivator was still gawking at my supposed beauty, that cursed virtual screen flashed before my eyes, as bright as an obituary notice. Asterisk immortal abode plot, disciple Su Yuan, complete one of the following conditions asterisk. 10 points of regret, 10 points of heartbreak, 10 points of anger, 10 points of fear, 100 million points of embarrassment. I glanced at the notification, nearly hurling the system onto the ground. What the hell? Why is there always a gazillion points of embarrassment waiting for me everywhere I go? I tilted my head, seriously questioning the system. Are you guys running a nationwide humiliation campaign behind my back? The second-generation rich guy only replied coldly, this is a mechanism to encourage players to create content. Before I could argue with him, the original owner's memories flooded my brain, hitting me like a bucket of ice water. The female lead, Xing Xian, in addition to being tormented mentally by her scumbag, master, Dujin, and obsessively pursued by the demon lord Bei Yishu, also had a simmering, ambiguous relationship with her junior brother, Su Yuan. This sickly junior brother harbored a deep, unrequited love for Xing Xian. After the female lead's death, that love had twisted into something insane and uncontrollable, beyond redemption. Su Yuan, whenever he encountered a female cultivator who resembled Xing Xian, would imprison them in his dungeon, forcing them to mimic Xing Xian's every smile and word. It was somewhat similar to Bei Yishu, only Su Yuan was even more twisted. He would kill the female cultivators he grew tired of, then cut off the parts of their bodies that resembled Xing Xian, and proceed to stitch them together. I stared at the quest board, silent for 3 seconds. Can I just go back and die with Bei Yishu? Second-generation rich guy no. This is the main quest, you must move forward. My forward is hell. Second-generation rich guy remained unfazed. You are an evil seed, hell is your stage. I grit my teeth, continuing my interrogation. He wants to stitch me into a Frankenstein's monster version of Xing Xian. Second-generation rich guy, that is the idea. Motherf ****ing, twisted pervert. Over the years, the number of female cultivators he had harmed was countless. I let out a soft, indignation surging within me. Second-generation rich guy, then I choose option 4. Su Yuan took me to his dungeon, thoughtfully fitting me with shackles and chains. In the dungeon were many other women, their gazes towards Su Yuan filled not with fear, but with a paralyzing terror, to the point they didn't dare blink. Each one bit her lip tightly, as if even a whimper would cost her a finger. Su Yuan sat before me, his expression enraptured, infatuated. Senior sister, I have found a face for you. She looks so much like you. You will definitely like her. I grinned at him. I'm hungry. I was sure I was baring all 8 of my teeth, looking even more like Xingxian. Su Yuan was indeed momentarily flustered. He stood up, somewhat distractedly. Senior sister, wait a moment. I will get you something to eat right away. He hurriedly left, not forgetting to place a layer of restriction on the dungeon. Only when Su Yuan's footsteps had completely faded from the corridor did the dungeon come alive. The female cultivators trembled, some clutching their heads, others biting their sleeves, suppressing their sobs as if crying too loudly would cost them their lives. I sat cross-legged in my shackles, still trying to maintain the composure of someone sipping tea. I directly addressed the second-generation rich guy. Now, what's Bei Yishu's regret level at? 85%. His voice was as cold and monotonous as reading a bank statement. I raised an eyebrow. Oh, it seems he's found Duzhen. They're probably fighting with earth-shattering force, punishing each other with lightning tribulations, throwing mountains, and cleaving stars. The demonic energy within my body trembled slightly, not from fear, but from excitement. Once that battle reached a crescendo of emotions, the regret level would continue to skyrocket. It could go from 85% to 90%, or even directly reach 100%. I exhaled in relief, like an audience member watching a high-end play. Good, then I'll just patiently wait a little longer. On the first day, Su Yuan arrived with a pillow, naturally resting his head on my lap. I looked at the top of his head, his dark hair falling down, his breath warming my lower abdomen like a small cat. I clenched the chains, chanting inwardly, "Endure. This is the main quest line. Enduring one more day is one step closer to a gazillion points of embarrassment." On the second day, Su Yuan noticed I had tied a red handkerchief, probably triggering some memory of Xingxian. Without a word, he lashed out with a palm strike, sending me flying from the east wall to the west wall, then coldly removed the handkerchief, neatly folding it into his chest pocket. I wiped the blood from the corner of my mouth, calmly concluding, the color red stimulates his inner demons too strongly. On the third day, a female cultivator in the dungeon suffered a mental breakdown. She started laughing and crying, then stood in the middle of the room singing a folk song from her hometown. In an instant, Su Yuan's eyes snapped open, his gaze empty like a ghost. Without warning, he drew his sword. Swoosh, a chilling blade sliced through the air. The female cultivator fell, blood splattering, the warmth of her body still clinging to me as it landed on my face. I froze. I looked at the blood still dripping from my chin, my gaze icy. Second-generation rich guy, quest progress? The system responded curtly, as if reading a financial report. Bei Yishu's regret progress 99%, Su Yuan's fear progress 0%. Just a final sliver, a tiny bit more, and Bei Yishu would awaken his Taoist core, while Su Yuan remained safely in the emotionless zone. I paused for a second, then calmly asked, what if I forcefully awaken the ancient demonic energy right now? Second-generation rich guy, deduct 100 accumulation points. I only had 100, not 10,000. The second-generation rich guy said nothing. I narrowed my eyes, murderous intent soaring, brief and decisive. Deduct them. I'm done enduring. What's a measly accumulation point? Deduct 100. In the next second, my dantian exploded, a scorching wave of magma erupting in my chest, every blood vessel in my body vibrating, my skin glowing faintly like a demon god waking up for the first time in 1,000 years. I widened my eyes and screamed without restraint. Refreshing. The sound echoed throughout the dungeon. All the female cultivators cowering in the corners flinched, looking up at me as if witnessing an alien being. A female cultivator whispered tremulously, has she gone mad? The second-generation rich guy in my mind was silent for 3 seconds, then said a single sentence, I should ask for more hazard pay. Spiritual energy surged around me, the chains clanking as they buckled under the pressure. I stood up, demonic energy swirling around me like black smoke, my hair flying wildly. Su Yuan, who had been squatting in front of the female cultivator's body, doing something, slowly turned around, upon hearing my scream. Su Yuan, untie the shackles for senior sister. His whole body was covered in blood. Step by step, he walked towards me. Senior sister, you haven't been good. He reached out towards my neck. I sighed deeply, both hands suddenly clenching and jerking inward. Crack, the wrist-thick iron chains, forged from star metal, snapped simultaneously. My demonic energy surged, my entire body enveloped in black energy, suspended in midair. Su Yuan looked at me in astonishment. I rotated my neck, then abruptly teleported in front of him. Su Yuan, you haven't been good. I used the iron chains to bind him, tying him to the center of the dungeon. You like the binding game? I'll let you play it to your heart's content. System, I want to know Su Yuan's past. I grinned. I was curious. What was he most afraid of in his heart? Su Yuan has a pitiful background. His biological mother was a courtesan who escaped from the mortal realm, with his father unknown. After he was born, his mother's business became more difficult. Mother and child were often beaten by the brothel keeper. Once, Su Yuan was almost beaten to death. His mother risked her life to save him. Perhaps because he had lived in such an environment from a young age, his psychology became twisted. Later, the brothel keeper accidentally fell down the stairs and died, and their lives improved a little. But Su Yuan's mother, after being deceived by men time and time again, finally collapsed. She gave Su Yuan sleeping pills, hugged him, sang a folk song, and jumped into the lake to commit suicide. His mother died, but Su Yuan was lucky to survive. A passing cultivator saw that Su Yuan had excellent bones, so he took him, an orphan child, back to Penglai and entrusted him to Xing Xian's care. After hearing this, my heart didn't stir, and I even found it a little funny. Was this the reason he slaughtered innocent people? If I guessed correctly, that brothel keeper's death was probably no accident, right? The second-generation rich guy ignored my ridicule, simply saying, in short, Su Yuan is most afraid of two things. One is red clothing, because the brothel keeper wore red all year round, so he developed a fear of red from then on. The second is... I interjected, singing. The second-generation rich guy replied, correct. Things are starting to become extremely interesting. I appeared before Su Yuan in a long dress as red as the blood moon, the hem fluttering as if trying to incinerate the air. The demonic energy around me moved to the rhythm, the red light reflected in his eyes. Su Yuan's pupils contracted madly. Asterisk ding. Reminder. The target's fear level has reached 10%. I flicked my black hair, smiling slightly. The effect is really great. I raised my head, commanding with presence. Let's go, second-generation rich guy. Turn on the music. The second-generation rich guy was silent for 3 seconds. I really don't want to cooperate with you. I curled my lips, lifting the hem of my dress into the wind, my voice full of confidence. I already paid the accumulation points. The dark dungeon floor suddenly lit up. 10 10 10 10 10 10 10. The music started, not immortal music, nor demonic music, but a tango remix, a dance version of ancient music, elegant and bizarrely breathtaking. At the same time, multicolored lights suddenly flashed, reflecting on the stone walls like gods hosting a feast. Su Yuan widened his eyes. What kind of sorcery is this? What do you want to do? I put a finger with red nail polish on his lips, making a very seductive SHHH gesture. Show, senior sister is dancing for you. Su Yuan closed his eyes tightly, his whole body trembling as if about to turn into ashes. Don't come over here. Don't. I smiled, suddenly pressing a spell. His eyes immediately opened, wide open, unable to close. I spun around gracefully, the red dress fluttering like phoenix wings, but just as Su Yuan thought I would continue the demonic dance, I stopped abruptly, clearing my throat. Okay, start the morning exercise. 1, 2, 3, inhale. I raised my head to the wind, raising my hands high as if welcoming the dawn of the demon world. Beat, exhale. My voice stretched out, soft as a kindergarten teacher coaxing students, but it echoed throughout the dungeon like the cry of wronged souls for thousands of years. Su Yuan shook so badly, glaring. What are you doing? I continued the stretching movement, but my hips swayed with the rhythm of the ancient disco music playing ting bing bing bong. 7. 8. Hip rotation. The red dress swirled into a circle, like a formation destroying gods and demons. Asterisk ding. Fear points increased by 5%. Embarrassment points increased by 2%. The target doesn't understand why they have to watch this. Asterisk. I stretched while speaking, my voice gentle but the content full of ambition. Su Yuan, remember to breathe deeply. Deep breathing makes you live longer. Living longer allows you to see senior sister every day. Su Yuan, stop it for me. Get rid of this pose. I smiled, standing on one leg, my hands in the pose of a crane spreading its wings. The health exercise integrates Taoist magic combined with the masses of the heavenly realm. The effect is miraculous, supporting the recovery of inner demons, increasing fear, and strengthening spiritual energy. Asterisk ding. Quest progress. The target's fear point reached 40%. Asterisk. I turned towards him, my face full of seriousness. Su Yuan, read after me. 1, 2, 3. Breathe. I maintained the famous spinning posture, my hair flying up like a broken galaxy. The clop clop click click fop fop sound of the dance, 1 2 3 breathe, echoed throughout the dungeon, like a type of exorcism music specifically for mental patients of the demon realm. The second-generation rich guy was silent. If he had a body, he would probably be squatting in the corner holding his head. I hadn't exercised for a long time. After jumping around a few times, I was sweating like a summer rain. I took the opportunity to glance at Su Yuan, who was tied up in the middle of the dungeon. He was sweating like a torrential flood, not just on his face. Sweat was also flowing from his eyebrows down his chin, from his chin down his neck, from his neck flowing into a puddle on the stone floor. His heart was clearly sending official documents to the heavens, requesting an exit from human life. I continued to dance to the last shake. I shrugged my shoulders, turned 183 degrees, preparing to enter the crane spreading its wings for survival movement, when the second-generation rich guy's voice sounded, carrying the flavor of a system red alert. Host, he fainted. I turned off the music, click a sound, my hair falling, my body drenched in sweat, and turned my head indifferently. Su Yuan was still opening his eyes, but his pupils had dilated, his gaze godless, as if he had just been taken out of his soul to visit the underworld. He didn't move, nor did he blink. I stood still for a moment, then put my hands behind my back, exhaling very artistically. Acceptable. Asterisk ding. Mission reminder. The target's fear point reached 50%. Asterisk. I raised an eyebrow halfway. Junior brother. Junior brother. I called to wake Su Yuan up. Su Yuan dreamily opened his eyes, looked at my face in the red dress shimmering in the middle of the demonic energy, and burst into tears. Not a gentle cry, but tears like a broken dam, a choked sound like a soul leaving the body. Please spare me. Please don't kill me. I tilted my head, gently swaying. I can spare you, but those girls you killed, they can't. Su Yuan's complexion turned pale, his soul trembling like leaves before a storm. I smiled, lifting his chin with the head of my commanding stick. Don't be afraid. Senior sister has also prepared a gift for you. I stood up straight, clapping twice clop clop. Coquette. The dungeon door opened. Each female cultivator stepped in, all wearing red, their skirts fluttering, their eyes empty but firm, like a choir from the underworld. Su Yuan turned to stone, then suddenly struggled wildly, howling as if being skinned. Get out. Don't come near me. Red, red. I can't look anymore. I turned to face the dungeon choir. My hand held the bone command stick picked up from the corner of the room, the pose elegant. Everyone ready? They looked at me, their eyes having both fear and determination, then nodded together. I smiled. Good. Everyone into position to prepare. Begin. The command stick waved, a tick sound. The underworld choir is allowed to perform. Everyone sang in unison, pure as celestial music, but the content was like a soul-summoning instrument. A red ribbon falls among mortals, who calls me back to the dead dreams. Blood hasn't dried, hearts can't rest. Do you still remember, or have you forgotten? The eyes that once looked at me. The music echoed, the red dress soared like waves of blood, each song like a needle stabbing directly into Su Yuan's inner demon. He trembled, snot and tears flowing, not knowing whether to be afraid, moved, or embarrassed. Asterisk ding. Task reminder progress. The target's fear point is 80%. The target's shame point is 5%. Suddenly realized they're watching a folk choir in the dungeon. Progress is increasing strongly. Asterisk ding. Task reminder progress. The target's fear point has reached 90%. Asterisk. The audio prompt cut through the air, making me suddenly stop the command stick that was waving in midair. Su Yuan was silent. His eyes were wide open, his pupils dilated like two black seeds losing focus, his whole face pale, startled like a person being woken up from their grave. I walked slowly over, leaning down to his level, my voice light but sharp as a knife. Junior brother, you have to be strong. It's only this much. Then I stood up, turning my back to leave the dungeon. The female cultivators all raised their heads, their eyes shining with a glimmer of something, not just fear, but a silent determination. Su Yuan screamed a miserable sound. That sound passed through the stone wall like tearing cloth. I smiled, took a restriction from my heart, placed it around the dungeon like a sealed ring. The air inside was completely isolated. All sounds and vibrations within. Here's the translated and rewritten text in American English, with a touch of elaboration and stylistic flair as requested. All escape routes were sealed off. I left them to stew in their dread, their blood, their shared history. I wanted the lingering spirits to finally unburden themselves. Now, retribution could finally be served. I don't know how much time passed before the final notification chimed. Asterisk ding. Mission progress update. Target fear level reached 100%. Asterisk the wind howled with icy fury, and the snow fell like a million celestial soldiers shot down from the heavens. Mount Wye, perpetually locked in glacial stasis, was now bearing witness to a battle worthy of being etched into the annals of cultivation history. Black robes and white clashed in a whirlwind above, spiritual energy erupting in a dazzling spectacle of light, layers of intricate formations shimmering amidst the swirling snow clouds. I tossed the unconscious Su Yuan onto the snow-covered ground, casually using him as a makeshift seat. He emitted a weak groan, but it was hardly enough to warrant my attention. I settled comfortably upon him, crossed my arms, and looked down the cliff face to the two men, one cloaked in darkness, the other draped in white, engaged in a cataclysmic struggle that seemed to shake the very foundations of the world. One a demon lord driven mad by love, the other an immortal sovereign consumed by inner demons. To miss this spectacle would be a disservice to all the accumulated points I'd invested. A soft chuckle escaped my lips. Honestly, this is better than any modern circus. Streams of magical energy collided and exploded in the air, the convergence of white and black light bisecting the sky. They'd been fighting for so long that their blood had stained the snow crimson, and the grievous wounds to their spiritual cores were impossible to conceal. Yujin, you've lost. Bei Yichou planted his foot firmly on the snow, the biting wind whipping his black robes around him, giving him the look of a god-turned-demon descending upon the mortal realm. The smile on his face had warped into something that was no longer a smile, but the razor's edge between hatred and madness. I'm finally about to avenge Xingxian. Yujin staggered, blood trickling from the corner of his mouth, but his gaze remained chilling and arrogant. Xingxian. Yujin chuckled, a sound laced with bitterness and grief. It's all thanks to her that I've ended up like this. Above them on the cliff, I sat elegantly upon my human leather chair, that is, Su Yuan, casually cracking melon seeds. Crack, crack, watching the drama unfold as if I were in the VIP section of an extravagant opera. As I cracked my 37th seed, the sound a little louder than the others. Crunch. The air froze solid. The two figures locked in combat below instantly stilled. Both Bei Yichou and Yujin tilted their heads, their piercing gazes like drawn swords fixed upon the cliff where I sat. Who's there? I stood up, brushed the snow from my robes, and walked to the edge of the cliff. Snow settled on my shoulders, blending into the crimson of my dress, which billowed like flames against the wind. The instant my face became visible, an invisible pressure radiated outwards, the wind ceased, even the snow stopped falling. The two men who had once stood at the apex of power, who had commanded the reverence of all living things, simultaneously gasped, Xing Xian. After the ancient demonic energy within me fully awakened, it absorbed the features that had once been mine, restoring the true visage of Xing Xian, a face that could launch 1,000 ships in the immortal realm, and send the demon realm spiraling into chaos. My voice, a discordant note in the symphony of white, hummed softly, laced with a touch of familiar irony. Long time no see. Giving them no time to recover, I waved my hand, seizing Su Yuan, who was still lost in unconsciousness, as if picking up a piece of discarded trash. Without a shred of remorse, I hurled him off the precipice. Thump! Flesh impacted with the snow-covered ground, creating a small crater. He tumbled pathetically next to the other two, still out cold. Then I launched myself off the cliff. My scarlet dress fanned out like a sinister flower, painting a vivid streak of fire across the blank canvas of the sky. My reflection danced in the widened eyes of Yuzhen and Bei Yichou, step by step, like a nightmare made flesh. Yuzhen stumbled backward, his entire body trembling like a leaf in a hurricane. I narrowed my eyes, attempting to project a semblance of comfort, though I knew the charade would only rub salt in his emotional wounds. Relax, relax. It's secluded here, no one's watching. I won't be pulling down your pants in front of everyone. The honeyed words dripped with sweetness, but concealed a razor-sharp blade, cutting into Yuzhen's fragile ego. Bei Yichou whirled around, his eyes blazing with fury. You? What did you say? I feigned a start, gasping a small, projecting an aura of manufactured innocence. Slip of the tongue. Then I smiled, a smile as cold as the glacial winds, slowly advancing like a cat toying with a mouse. Well, I suppose I'll just have to tell you the truth then. I stopped directly in front of him, gazing up at his handsome face, now contorted in rage. The smile on my lips froze, my voice as clear as a silver bell, yet laden with poison, each syllable etched into his very heart. The truth is, I never loved you. Xing is me, Xing Xian is also me. From beginning to end, I was only using you. Bei Yichou's eyes widened, his chest heaving violently, his heart pounding as if trying to escape his ribcage. I shook my head, continuing nonchalantly, as if recounting a trivial story. You say you loved me? You misunderstood. That wasn't love, it was simply possession, mere stubbornness. Before the words had even finished leaving my mouth, his hand shot out, grasping my throat, squeezing as if to crush the heavens themselves. He gritted his teeth, veins bulging on his temples, his face a mask of savage rage. You? Shut up. Without rushing to struggle, I slowly grasped his wrist, my pale fingers tightening around it, my eyes still smiling, but the smile now tainted with a sinister, scheming glint. Do you enjoy strangling people that much? Then, why don't you try this too? I shifted my hand, placing my own icy hand against his throat. The demonic energy within me, like a caged monster, now unleashed, roiling, dark, dense, erupting from my dantian, through my throat, through my palm, flooding into his body. Bei Yichou suddenly realized that the spiritual energy within him was being drained at an alarming rate. He widened his eyes, desperately trying to break free, but every movement proved futile. I stood firm as a fortress, the weight of the demonic energy pressing upon him more powerfully than iron chains. The fury in his eyes slowly changed color, from fiery red to deathly white, from white to panicked, and finally, despair washed over his face. He didn't scream, just froze, drawing a ragged breath through his teeth. And amidst the suffocating silence, the familiar electronic voice echoed in my mind, clear as a command fulfilled. *ding, mission progress update. Target regret level reached 100%. I stood still, listening to the notification like a satisfying final movement in a symphony. A glimmer of satisfaction shone in my eyes, the sound I had longed for finally ringing in my ears. A flicker of panic flashed across Bei Yichou's face, and I casually tossed him aside like a puppet that had played out its role. Rich 2nd Gen, all the mission objectives from terrifying immortals and slaying demons and records of a twisted love have been completed. Does the host wish to leave this world? The biting wind lashed at my face, but I felt nothing but exhilaration. Of course. I glanced at Yuzhen, Beiyi Cho, and Su Yuan, struggling to their feet. You don't deserve to love anyone, nor do you deserve to be loved. You can slowly savor this filthy mortal world. I cast a spell, creating a barrier, isolating them from me by 10 zheng. Don't anyone taint my path to immortality. As I spoke, my entire body radiated a brilliant golden light. The clouds overhead gradually dissipated, revealing radiant, multicolored celestial clouds. 7-colored divine birds emerged from within, circling in the air before converging towards me. I closed my eyes, surrounded by the divine birds, slowly ascending, higher and higher. Rich second gen, was spending so many accumulated points worth it? I rotated my wrist, my hair flying in the lingering golden light, a hint of excitement in the corners of my lips. Of course, it was worth it. This stage presence is so explosive it could shake the very foundations of the celestial realm. If I didn't spend points to create this kind of spectacle, what would I be saving them for? Some kind of cosmic life insurance policy. A faint sigh echoed in my mind. Not regret, not anger, but a gentle resignation, like, you want to play it that way, fine, as long as you're having fun. Rich second gen. Fine, whatever makes you happy. I was slightly taken aback. It was the first time his voice carried a hint of emotion, not entirely robotic, nor entirely cold, a touch of helplessness and a trace of reluctant acceptance, as if saying, "You truly are the kind of host that makes the system need to sign up for psychological counseling." A soft laugh escaped my lips. Before I could dwell on it, the voice resonated again, reverting to its serious tone. Preparing to leave this world. Host, close your eyes. The feeling of the earth spinning momentarily is a normal reaction. Please do not be alarmed. I closed my eyes. The wind ceased, the snow stopped falling, the voices of the people faded, everything descended into silence, but inside me there was no fear, only extreme excitement. Because I knew a new stage was opening. The golden light faded in a moment of illusion and reality. I heard myself whispering, next time, I will definitely create an even more explosive spectacle. Then the space around me vanished, quiet, completely quiet. Asterisk, asterisk, asterisk. A futuristic, interstellar world. The competition pod opened, dazzling white light struck my face, followed by thunderous applause, like waves crashing on the shore, constantly rising. I stepped out, not walking on my own, but being respectfully supported by 2 employees in silver-gray uniforms, as if supporting a newly crowned emperor. With each step on the cold metal floor, I felt the difference. This world was no longer a Xianxia world, but an advanced mental arena where people could compete by transmigrating into books and battle for the championship in front of billions of viewers. An MC in a high-tech robe approached quickly. Amplified through the sound system, his voice echoed throughout the arena. Congratulations to Shiwei, the new champion of the 12th Interstellar Transmigration Competition. Cheers erupted immediately. Thousands of laser and holographic fireworks exploded in the air. The 360-degree screen replayed countless moments of my journey across 10 worlds. In particular, the scene of me dancing in the dungeon and the phrase, "Don't anyone taint my path to immortality," had become a popular meme throughout the star system. The Interbook competition had been held for 12 years. 10 random worlds, 32 contestants, only one could stand until the end. The judging panel evaluated through 3 indicators: task completion, script creativity, and the level of community shock. And I, Shiwei, with a series of mental torture, emotional twists, and the destruction of the Taoist hearts of 3 protagonists, broke the record of all 8 previous champions. The whole stadium echoed my name, Shiwei. 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 Rich second gen was now back to being an internal headset rather than a traversing system. Congratulations, host. The awards ceremony concluded with a sky full of light fireworks. Just as I was collecting my medal, the presenter stepped forward, his face full of excitement. Ms. Shiwei is the champion of this competition. Do you have any feelings you would like to share with the audience? I smiled, raising the microphone as if preparing to give an inspiring speech. A great experience. The plots in each book are very rich, and it feels like you are really living in that world. The system staff are also extremely professional. The 360-degree screen showed a close-up of my face, covered in light effects, making me look like a god descending to Earth. I paused for a moment, as if remembering something. Oh, right. I have a question. The presenter paused slightly, but kept his professional smile. Please go ahead. What do you want to ask? I tilted my head, my eyes as calm as if asking about the weather, but each word caused energy waves to vibrate in the Zen garden field. Where is your company's technical department? The atmosphere froze instantly. The audience, the judges, the presenter. In a corner of the stands, the system engineers who were drinking tea suddenly spat it all over the screen. I continued to smile sincerely. I just want to have a nice chat. About who programmed Beiyi Cho, Yujin, and Su Yuan. I am very grateful to them, and I want to know why they are writing such perverted male leads that are getting more and more over the top. Asterisk, asterisk, asterisk. Outside the futuristic tech corporation, headquarters of the company that controlled all book-traversing pods across the Universal Alliance. Two men walked out of the hall, shouting as they walked, their voices audible to me. That Shiwei actually won first place. Saw it. The person next to him replied blandly, but his aura was not to be underestimated, and his steps were as steady as if guided by heaven. Oh my God, when I was following her competition data, her operations were perverted. She twisted the villainous plot, tortured the male protagonists, and subverted the world view. No one can beat her. The man in white said indifferently. Not bad, not bad. Fortunately, you were there to shield the system when she forcibly awakened her demonic energy, otherwise the entire A+ server would have exploded. Oh right, what do you think of her performance? The man in white paused for a moment and replied softly, very good. She's so perverted and you still praise her? Oh, who snatched my hat? Just as his hand touched his head, the hat was already in my hand. I slowly walked out from behind him, moving leisurely, my eyes curving with interest. The boy widened his eyes, his lips trembling. She. I smiled, raising the hat and shaking it. Shiwei is pleased to meet you. My eyes fell on the first person. Rich third gen. The other man trembled as if he was about to snap a tendon, not daring to admit it or deny it. I turned to look at the other person. A man in a white shirt and straight trousers, with a clean temperament that was almost separate from the world. His hair was neat, and his black eyes were as deep as if they had seen through every world I had destroyed. His eyes met mine calmly, which made people feel scared. I raised my eyebrows, and the corners of my lips curved into a cold line. Rich second gen. The man looked at me, his eyes as deep as an ancient lake without ripples. After a long time, he opened his mouth gently. My name is Jianyu. That voice was indeed his, not the emotionless machinery of the system, but the voice of a real person. I laughed, a laugh that wasn't loud but enough to make Rich Third Gen's hands tremble and almost drop his helmet. In the high-rise cafe of the futuristic tech corporation, sunlight shone through transparent glass, reflecting on the glass table. I propped up my chin and comfortably observed the man sitting opposite me. Jianyu wore a white shirt, his cuffs rolled up, and his slender fingers held a coffee cup, each movement precise as if programmed. However, there was a subtle instability in his eyes. He coughed softly, almost a reflex of someone who is being stared at too intensely without knowing how to react. Miss Shiwei, is there something you need from me? His voice was calm, but the steam in the coffee cup trembled slightly, and he was not as calm as he seemed. I blinked, my voice as light as the wind, but each word was like a drop of water dripping into stone. Do you remember I told you that the third world system sang to me? Johnny didn't move, but his fingers holding the cup slightly contracted like a heartbeat monitor that had just accelerated. I remember. I raised my eyebrows and the corners of my lips curved up. I have a few more details to tell you. The coffee cup in his hand froze in midair. I said slowly, each word as if touching the deepest memory. The third world was the most tragic world I had ever been to. As soon as I entered, my magic power was cut off, and I was swallowed into a blood sacrifice formation. Every day, I had to wait for someone to come and dig out my heart for sacrifice. John Yu's eyes shook slightly, but he still kept his face calm, only the joints of his fingers tightened slightly on the coffee cup. When I was dying of cold and pain, the system initially refused to help, but I begged and said that if he didn't do anything, I would die. In the end, the system chose to sing to me. I looked directly into Jean Yu's eyes. He wasn't good at singing, and he even forgot to turn on the voice changer. So, I heard a voice completely different from the cold machine voice. It was a warm, clear voice, but a little tense, a little shaky, a little hoarse. But I touched my chest lightly. It saved my life, because at that moment, I knew that someone really didn't want me to die. I smiled, but there was a complex emotion hidden in my eyes. That voice sounds exactly like yours. The space fell silent, hot coffee evaporated in the silence, and the reflected light caused Jean Yu's eyelashes to tremble without being able to hide it. I tilted my head, my voice becoming light again, half joking and half serious, as if touching his heart blatantly. So, my dear system, can you make an exception one more time? I leaned on the table, brought an imaginary microphone to my lips, and hooked my eyes. Can you give me your phone number? The end. Yeah,